As mentioned in the previous spoiler, Luo Feng completed the second phase of the highest point mission with high praise and immediately faced an even more difficult challenge in the third phase. As I explained in a previous video, the limit of slaughter is not simply measured by the population of a galaxy, it is also closely related to the identity and status of the Slayer. Although the King Blood Devil frequently forces millions of planetary and stellar level warriors to fight each other in order to select the strong for his own use, he had always avoided punishment by precisely staying clear of the bottom line restrictions. However, his subordinates who frequently handle trial matters, after being exposed to bloodthirsty scenes and being constantly eroded by the will to slaughter, gradually lose their willpower and come to see cruelty as a form of pleasure. As a result, even without the King Blood Devil's orders, they secretly hold slaughtering activities, having already violated the boundaries that top forces consider to be untouchable multiple times. Although the King Blood Devil has not personally made mistakes, he cannot escape responsibility for his failure to supervise. Luo Feng's task is to judge over 20 of his law-breaking subordinates, including 2 immortal-level strong individuals. The Virtual Universe Company has ordered the King Blood Devil to personally arrest the criminals and turn them over to Luo Feng for judgment, with life and death entirely in his hands. You may be curious, why not let the King Blood Devil directly execute these subordinates? Why let a domain master judge a world master or even an immortal? This is actually the key to this task. The purpose is to test Luo Feng's decisions and mentality when facing great power. The Virtual Universe Company is being cautious because every World Master level member will eventually be sent to extraterritorial battlefield and secret realms to carry out real life and death missions. If a genius, trained with massive resources by the company, betrays the company at a critical moment, the loss would be irreparable. Therefore, the highest point mission is not only about resource allocation but also a test of character. Only those who pass are worthy of further investment by the company. Otherwise, no matter how talented, they are not worth nurturing. If Luo Feng fails this test, his position within the Virtual Universe Company will significantly decline, and the support and resources he receives will also be reduced. This is the true challenge he must face head-on. Although it is nominally the Virtual Universe Company that is judging these criminals, the final punishment is entirely up to Luo Feng. As long as he wishes, all the criminals can be released without charge. However, if Luo Feng does not wish to go against his conscience, he can also sentence them all to death. Therefore, when Luo Feng arrives at the King Blood Devil's planet with the relevant personnel from the company, the King Blood Devil behaves unusually, showing rare warmth and courtesy. He even expresses understanding regarding the earlier incident where Luo Feng disrupted the trial, not mentioning any blame but instead subtly hinting that Luo Feng may deal lightly with the offenders under his command. One of the elderly representatives from the Virtual Universe Company accompanying them further points out that the punishment does not have to be limited to execution, where it could also involve imprisonment or even a pardon, completely at Luo Feng's discretion. This move by the elder has 2 purposes. First, to make it clear to the King Blood Devil that the decision lies in Luo Feng's hands, and the Virtual Universe Company will not intervene, thus preventing Luo Feng from using the company's influence to act and truly testing his decisions under pressure from great power. Second, to intentionally put Luo Feng in a dilemma between morality and reality. In fact, although Luo Feng is still a domain master, his status as a member of the primordial void space already places him far above most world masters and even ordinary immortals in the human races, comparable to a marquee immortal. However, this honor does not mean that everyone genuinely respects him. His rise has been too fast, which inevitably sparks dissatisfaction and contempt in the hearts of many powerful individuals, especially those immortal-level beings who have cultivated for countless years. They may show respect outwardly, but they know in their hearts, Luo Feng has not yet reached the immortal level. He holds a prestigious position only due to his background, and he is still not considered a true powerhouse. Without the backing of the Virtual Universe Company, they are confident they could easily eliminate Luo Feng. After arriving at the planet where the King Blood Devil resided, the King Immortal did not immediately let Luo Feng begin judging the criminals. Instead, he arranged a lavish banquet, serving the most luxurious food and wine to entertain Luo Feng. The resources spent on this feast were so extravagant that even several ordinary immortal-level beings would be bankrupted trying to afford it. The King Blood Devil's intent was crystal clear as he aimed to sway Luo Feng with emotion and tempt him with benefits. However, Luo Feng was well aware of the principle that, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Alongside Dylan, he did not touch a single dish, not even picking up his chopsticks. In contrast, the accompanying elder from the Virtual Universe Company and several immortals dined heartily, leaving Luo Feng quietly helpless but unable to speak up. Under the King Blood Devil's watchful eyes, Luo Feng eventually forced himself to symbolically take a few bites, then promptly stated that this visit was focused on carrying out his mission and he had no intention of indulging in pleasure. Seeing his test fail, the King Blood Devil had no choice but to order that the group of criminals be brought into the banquet hall. With their lives hanging by Luo Feng's decision, even once arrogant world masters and immortals bowed their heads, desperately pleading for mercy, their pride shattered. In the eyes of the King Blood Devil, those world master level criminals were insignificant. Luo Feng could execute them at will, their deaths meant nothing. What he truly cared about were the two immortal level offenders. During the feast, he even personally approached them, expressing regret and pity where his intentions blatantly obvious. He was clearly sending Luo Feng a signal, hoping they could leave some room for compromise and avoid a total fallout. Killing the world masters while sparing the immortals would fulfill the mission requirements and also earn the King Blood Devil a favor, avoiding mutual hostility. For Luo Feng, this would be the safest choice. Luo Feng, however, had already seen through the King Blood Devil's intentions. Being one who despised evil, he would not bend simply because of someone else's hints. Faced with these criminals whose offenses were undeniable, he unhesitatingly sentenced all of them to death, which including the two immortals. Upon the announcement, the accompanying elder from the Virtual Universe Company immediately acted and executed the criminals one by one. This, after all, was his true purpose in accompanying Luo Feng. From the King Blood Devil's perspective, as long as Luo Feng executed the World Master level criminals, the mission would be considered complete. Coupled with his personal pressure and emotional persuasion, it should have been enough to keep a young domain master from daring to challenge a King Immortal's authority. Yet Luo Feng's actions shattered all of his expectations. What shocked the King Blood Devil most was that Luo Feng showed no gratitude whatsoever. He still sentenced all the immortal criminals to death. One of them, upon hearing the verdict, was so overwhelmed with rage and despair that he suddenly lunged at Luo Feng in a violent outburst. Although his immortal divine power had been sealed, his mere physical strength as an immortal was still enough to crush a domain master to death. Surprisingly, it was the King Blood Devil himself who intervened, killing the rogue immortal with a single palm strike. That strike stemmed from his fear of the Virtual Universe Company's might, but also served as a veiled threat where it shows an attempt to intimidate Luo Feng into letting the final immortal go. Yet Luo Feng remained unfazed, continuing his judgment according to his convictions, showing not the slightest compromise. Seeing this, fury welled up inside the King Blood Devil, and he even considered driving Luo Feng and his party away in anger. Although this mission created a grudge between Luo Feng and the King Blood Devil, Luo Feng was completely unafraid. After all, he had long planned to enter the beginning universe and study the Chaos Steel after completing the highest point mission. Every domain master level member of the Virtual Universe Company was entitled to train in the beginning universe for 300 years. Moreover, Earth was now jointly owned by him and the Virtual Universe Company. No matter how arrogant the King Blood Devil might be, he wouldn't risk launching a massacre on Earth over two ordinary immortals, as doing so would mean total betrayal of the Virtual Universe Company. Even so, Dylan remained deeply concerned about Luo Feng's decision. He understood that once Luo Feng became a world master, he would have to enter the extraterritorial battlefield alone, without any escort, facing countless life and death missions. A person too blunt and sharp-edged could easily make deadly enemies in such a harsh, storm-filled environment. What Dylan didn't know was that Luo Feng's trump cards and wealth far exceeded the norm. As long as his law comprehension improved a bit more, his golden horned beast could easily suppress Dylan. Luo Feng's growth had already gone beyond the category of ordinary genius. In fact, when he returned from the beginning universe again, he would still be a world master, but his strength would have already surpassed Dylan entirely. If Dylan continued accompanying him on high-risk missions, he would be more of a burden than help. In any case, Luo Feng's performance earned unanimous praise from the universe venerables who issued the mission. He received a perfect score of 100 and an enormous amount of points, instantly becoming a point tycoon. Clearly, the venerables were extremely satisfied with his unwavering integrity, refusal to bow to power, and his fair, principled judgments. Only someone like this could be trusted to stay righteous in harsher, more complex situations, where never succumbing to power, never being tempted by gain, and never betraying the human race. It was precisely because of this that Luo Feng truly became a core genius worthy of heavy investment from the Virtual Universe Company. After all, only those who face hardship without fear and fulfill their duties with full effort are qualified to shoulder the true responsibilities the company requires. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching this video. Wish you a wonderful day.